Distinguished colleagues, please let us look at the votes and proceedings of Tuesday, 21st November 2023. Page 323, page 324, page 326, page 327, page 328, page 329, page 330, page 331. Distinguished Senator Goje.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Mohammed Njimo Goje, representing Gombe Central. I move that the Senate approve the votes and proceedings of Tuesday, 21st November 2023. I so move.
Distinguished Senator Agadaga.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, Chief Benson Sunday Agadaga is my name, representing Bayelsa East Senatorial District. I rise up to second the motion ably moved by Senator Goje for the adoption of the votes and proceedings of yesterday. I so second. Thank you, Mr. President.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded that the votes and proceedings of Tuesday, the 21st day of November 2023 be approved. Those in support of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Yes, Leader of the Senate. Or just by way of information, this morning we commenced the plenary of the ECOWAS Parliament, and so some of our colleagues are still there, including the Deputy Senate President. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Yes, point of order.
Thank you, Mr. President, and distinguished colleagues. My name is Ned Mwoko, representing Delta North Senatorial District. Mr. President, I rely on orders 41 and 51. Matter of urgent public importance. Can I read, Mr. President? The matter for discussion shall, if possible, be referred to the President of the Senate before commencement of the day's sitting, and the President of the Senate shall refuse to allow the claim unless he is satisfied that the matter is definite and urgent. And of course, 51. Notice shall not be dispensed with in the case of a motion or in respect of any other proceeding for which notice is required, except with the consent of the President of the Senate and the general assent of the senators present. Mr. President, I had already discussed this matter with you this morning, and I seek the leave of the Senate to move the motion
Distinguished colleagues, distinguished Senator Nedwoko discussed a matter of very urgent importance with me. Yeah? Yes, that's. Can you summarize so that we move on? Summarize.
Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, this involves the recent abductions, kidnappings in Galadima, part of Abuja. Just about 10 days ago, 19 individuals were kidnapped, and I have been working with the security agencies in dealing with this, principally because my senior legislative aide is amongst those kidnapped. And just yesterday,
Distinguished colleagues, having heard the brief summary, is it the view of the Senate that he be allowed to proceed? Those in support say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
thank you.
Distinguished Senator Woko, you may now proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President, and distinguished colleagues. Urgent need to stop the Galadima kidnappings and killing fields. The urgent need for security agencies to act. The Senate should observe that the scourge of kidnappings, a prevailing conflict within Nigeria, has penetrated the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, Abuja, undermining the very essence of safety and security. Protests echoing the surge in kidnappings during 2022 spotlighted the worsening situation, emphasizing the indiscriminate nature of these abductions, targeting individuals across various social strata, from politicians to civilians, students, security agents, motorists, farmers, faith-based organizations, and aid workers. Despite the nation's seat of governance residing within the FCT Abuja, the Kuje Area Council stands notorious for its escalating kidnapping incidents. Also observes that while efforts have been underway to curtail this insecurity, the persistence of the kidnapping menace remains evident. Legislative actions such as the 2022 legislation signed by the Nigeria's president aimed at penalizing ransom payments and abductions, but the efficacy of these measures remains uncertain. Worried that the recent abduction of 19 individuals, yes, 19, including my senior legislative aide, Barrister Chris Agidi, in the Galadima neighborhood, Abuja, exemplifies the gravity of the situation. Despite swift engagement with law enforcement agencies, tragically, according to security forces, out of the 19 abducted, 12 lives have been lost, and 7 individuals are still being held captive in a forested area spanning approximately 100 kilometers. Deeply worried that the failure to urgently address the kidnapping crisis in Nigeria, especially in FCT, could result in social unrest, loss of confidence in governance, humanitarian toll, economic decline, increased insecurity, and potential international implications, all of which could profoundly impact the nation's stability, prosperity, and international standing. Accordingly, resolves to, 1, call for a joint operation involving the Army, Air Force, Police, the DSS, to intensify the search efforts for the remaining captives. Urge the Inspector General of Police to see to the installation of CCTV cameras in strategic locations within and around Abuja, highways, and other major capital cities to foster surveillance and deter criminal activities. 3, also call on the Inspector General of Police to urgently increase security patrols and surveillance within Abuja and across the nation to proactively combat and prevent further kidnappings. 4, mandate the committees on defense and police to conduct a thorough investigation into these kidnappings and other similar incidents in and around Abuja. Also, mandate the aforementioned committees to recommend robust strategies to prevent future kidnappings within FCT. And of course, observe 1 minute silence in honor of the lives lost due to the cruelty of the kidnappers. I so move, Mr. President.
Any seconder? Yes, Senator Dafinone.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, my name is Ide Dafinone and I represent the good people of Delta Central. I rise to support the motion raised by distinguished Senator Ned Nwoko on the need to stop not just the Galadima kidnappings, but also for the security agents to take necessary action to prevent and deter and catch kidnappers, to prevent this from becoming a lucrative business that is spurred by the poverty in the society. I so support, sir.
Distinguished Senator Abaribe.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Ayin Abaribe. I represent Abia South. While also supporting this motion, I need to point out that it's not just in Galadimawa. I had occasion to have a discussion last week with Senator Kingibe. Several parts of Abuja are under siege. Part of Lugbe, on the back side of Lugbe, Kubwa, and so forth. So many citizens no longer sleep in their homes. They run into town and go back during the day. So there's something very, very serious going on in around the Federal Capital Territory. No matter what we say, this is the capital territory of Nigeria. If there's anywhere that's going to be seen as very secure, this ought to be the most secure place in Nigeria. Now that it seems that the same lackadaisical attitude to security is being taken to, all of us are at risk. Now, an aide to a senator, tomorrow it might be an aide to a minister. It might also be one of us, God forbid. But the point is, something very, very drastic and immediate must be done by the security agencies to handle this matter. It is not because we do not have the resources. Because these people ask for ransom, they use their cell phones, they can be tracked, and then in and around Abuja FCT is supposed to be a security zone. And therefore, I second and support all the prayers that are part of this motion, and wish that this Senate do take this matter as serious and as urgent as it is. I so second.
Distinguished Senator Alero.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. Mohammed Adamalir is my name. I represent Kebbi Central. Mr. President, I rise to lend my support to this very important motion ably moved by Senator Munir. In supporting it, Mr. President, I have to say that the security situation in Abuja is grave. Yeah. In fact, it is even beyond that. As my colleague has rightly said, many people are no longer sleeping in their houses because of fear of being abducted. They are helpless. So they need assistance and support. And Mr. President, there is no other place to ginger the security agents than the National Assembly. We are the House of Assembly of the FCT. Whatever is happening in FCT has to be discussed here in the Senate or in the House of Representatives. So we should take this issue very seriously. Mr. President, I observe or I noticed that in the prayer, he mentioned that CCTV cameras should be installed in all parts of Abuja. Mr. President, distinguished colleague, as far back as 2009, when I was Minister of ACT, the contract for the installation of CCTV camera was awarded to the tune of over $500 million. Mr. President, the contractor just came and installed useless cameras that are supposed to work with sunlight, and he has abandoned that contract and nobody has heard anything about it. I understand that it was discussed at the National Assembly around 2015, and nobody has heard anything about it. So it is now time for us to revisit that issue of 500 million naira worth of contract for the installation of CCTV camera in FCT. We have to make the contractor to account for that huge sums of money. The citizens are left without security. The money has gone down the drain and nobody is talking about it. I'm happy that Senator Munir urged them to do the needful. We have approved huge sums of money just last month.
Can we stop the meetings? Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. As I said, we have approved well over 1.something trillion naira to the security agents. And the whole idea of approving that money is to improve security nationwide, including the Federal Capital Territory. It is time for us to embark on oversight to ensure that that money is judiciously used, is judiciously utilized. Mr. President, I rest my case. Thank you very much.
Honestly, I think we should go straight into the prayers. Coincidentally, the Committee on National Security and Intelligence, together with the Committee on ICT, Cybercrime, they are having a public hearing right now on their proposed amendment to the National Security Act. As we speak, they are gathering for so even the chairman or the chairman of the two committees are not in chambers at the moment. The issue is supported by all. The motion is supported by all, but a bit very worrisome, considering that we are talking about the Federal Capital Territory. Maybe in the prayers, you may consider including invitation of the minister in charge of the FCT to have a closed session with the Senate to discuss on the findings and the situation that we have found ourselves in the FCT. and including the Inspector General of Police and thereabout. But this is very worrisome. But I must express my sympathy to Senator Odette Nwoku, because when he mentioned 19 people kidnapped in one location, and he said 12 are feared dead, it sends a terrible signal, considering that Galadima is within the Federal Capital Territory. So let's look at the prayers, and maybe we can add additional prayers to strengthen it. Prayer 1, call for a joint operation involving the Army, the Air Force, the Police, and Department of State Services, DSS, to intensify the search efforts for the kidnapped victims. Those in support of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 2, urge the Inspector General of Police to see to the installation of CCTV cameras in strategic locations within and around Abuja, the highways, and other capital cities to bolster surveillance and detect criminal activities. Any amendment? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mohamed Adamu Alero is my name, the President Center. Mr. President, I want to amend this prayer to read, to add the Minister of Federal Capital Territory to revisit the contract of the installation of CCTV cameras in strategic locations within and around Abuja. Yes. Because that contract was awarded and the money has been paid and the work has not been done. So it is the minister that will revisit the, it was the minister that will revisit that contract and see that it is executed according to the contract agreement. Thank you.
Yes, Doctor. Go ahead. We need a seconder for that amendment.
No seconder.
Second the amendment, if permitted with little amendment again. To amend further, that the Senate should probe.
Sorry. Introduce yourself and then further then say whether you have.
Representing Oyo Central. I stand to second the amendment as moved by Senator Alero and amend further that the
Distinguished colleagues, prayer 2 has been amended. A proposed amendment has been made by Senator Alero that we should urge the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory to revisit the issue of the installation of CCTV cameras within Abuja and around the environs, particularly the past contract where over 500 billion have been spent. And this has been seconded by my brother. Those who are in support of this prayer too, as amended, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 3, call on the Inspector General of Police to urgently increase security patrols and surveillance within Abuja and across the nation to proactively combat and prevent further kidnappings. Those in support of prayer 3 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 4, mandate the committees on defense and police affairs to conduct a thorough investigation into these recent kidnappings and other similar incidents in and around Abuja, Those in support of prayer 4 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 5. Mandate the aforementioned committees to recommend robust strategies to prevent future kidnappings within the FCT. Mandate the aforementioned committees to recommend robust strategies to prevent future kidnappings within the FCT. Those in support of prayer 5 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 6, observe 1 minute silence in honor of the lives lost due to the cruelty of kidnappers. I believe strongly that the Civil Senator Nedwoko, this prayer 6 is presumptuous. You are saying that reports available have it that 12 of them have been killed, but nobody has been found. So it's also possible that it may be social media report. So if we observe a minute silence and they are found tomorrow, how do we call back the minute silence? Senator Goje, explain how we can recall the minute silence.
What?
If we observe minute silence for the presumed killing of 12 of the 19 kidnapped victims, and then in future they are found, how can the Senate call back the minute silence?
You have already answered your question. It's presumptuous. We shouldn't do this. We should wait until the issue is properly settled and it's confirmed that they have died. Then we'll come and do the 1 minute silence. But we pray that we don't do it because we pray that they don't die.
I really pray it doesn't happen. So, by prayer 6, observe a minute silence. Those in honor of prayer 6, that we should observe a minute silence for these 12 presumed dead kidnapped victims. Say aye. Those against say nay. The nays have it. Additional prayers. Yes, Senator Kawu.
Mr. President, my dear distinguished honorable colleagues, I am Suleiman Abrahaman Kawu Sumaila, representing Kano South Senatorial District from Kano. Mr. President. Okay. Mr. President, I am proposing an additional prayer that commend the security agencies and urge them to redouble their effort in making sure the release of all captives across the country, because there are so many Nigerians who are in captivity. I so propose.
Any seconder? No seconder. Yes, additional prayer, Senator Goje.
Mr. President, my additional prayer. Mr. President, my additional prayer is because of the amendment effected on prayer 2. If you look at prayer 2 closely, it's not talking about Abuja alone. Prayer 2 covers the entire country. It says installation of CCTV cameras in strategic locations within around Abuja highways and other major capital cities in the country. But the amendment effected by Senator Alero restricted the whole thing to Abuja alone. So I want to add a prayer to say that the Inspector General of Police should ensure the installation of CCTV cameras in other major capital cities in the country, not only Abuja. It should go to other major capital cities. Because the amendment Alero effected just made it limited to Abuja alone. But the original prayer covers the entire country. So I want to bring back the original prayer in a different way so that the CCTVs should cover major cities in Nigeria.
So the distinguished Senator Goje has added an additional prayer saying that we should urge all security agencies involved in the fight against kidnapping and terrorism to effect and install CCTV cameras in all major cities and major locations in Nigeria, including the Federal Capital Territory, particularly the Nigerian Police Services. Any seconder, Senator Sani Musa?
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Mohammed Sani Musa, representing Niger East. I stand to second the amendment moved by Senator Goje. I so second.
Yes, distinguished colleagues, Senator Goje has added an additional prayer, and it has been seconded by distinguished Senator Sani Musa, that security agencies involved in the fight against kidnapping and terrorism, including the Inspector General Police, should consider installing CCTV cameras in most major cities and locations in Nigeria to avert further kidnappings. Those in support of this additional prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The clerk. I hope you are noting. Yes, this is Senator Ekong.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Ekong Samson, Akwa Ibom South. My additional prayer is that the Senate Committee on FCT be mandated to liaise with the Minister of FCT and brief the rich chambers on this matter. Thank you.
Yes, any seconder? Yes, the mic. Distinguished colleagues, an amendment, not necessarily, additional prayer has been proposed by distinguished Senator Ekong Samson and seconded, that the committees on FCT and FCT area councils should liaise with the Minister of FCT to obtain relevant information and to brief the Senate adequately on measures being taken to avert these recurrent kidnappings. Those in support of this additional prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Let me thank distinguished Senator Ned Nwoko and I wish you God's protection, both for you, your family, and all your aides, and wish all of us God's protection. And I pray that those who were kidnapped, including your aides, will regain their freedom in the shortest possible time. And I assure you that even as we are speaking now, that the security agencies are doing their utmost best to bring the situation under control. We pray that God will guide them and bring them back safely, so that we will not have the need to observe a minute silence in their honor. Thank you for drawing the Senate's and the public's attention to this menace within and around the environs of the FCT. Senate Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished senators. The first business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Asukwo Ekpeyon on the National Youth Service Corps Act Amendment Bill 2023, SB 77. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, National Youth Service Corps Act Amendment Bill 2023, SB 77, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, National Youth Service Corps NYSC Act Amendment Bill 2023, SB 77. First reading taken. The Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the second business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Omoya Dafinone on the Federal University of Education, Isiokolo, Delta State, Establishment Bill 2023, SB 269. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Federal University of Education, Isiokolo, Delta State Establishment Bill 2023, SB 269, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, Federal University of Education, Isiokolo, Delta State Establishment Bill 2023, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the third business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Adetokunbo Abiro Mukail on the Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation Act Amendment Bill 2023, SB 277. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
The Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation NDIC Act Amendment Bill 2023, SB 277, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation NDIC Act Amendment Bill 2023, SB 277, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the fourth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Abdul Hamid Malam Maduri on the Federal Medical Center Act Amendment Bill 2023, SB 278. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Federal Medical Centers Act Amendment Bill 2023, SB 278, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, Federal Medical Center Act Amendment Bill 2023, SB 278, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators,
The fifth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Nwaiboy Onyeka Peter on the David Umahi University of Health Science Establishment Bill 2023 SB 279. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, David Umahi University of Health Science Establishment Bill 2023, SB 279, first reading.
What did you say? Distinguished colleagues, David Umahi University of Health Sciences Establishment Bill 2023, SB 279, first reading taken. That's what is here. Huh? So, okay, do we change it to Senator Nengi? I think so. I think so. Maybe Senator Nengi, it should have been University of Health Sciences and then mention education. So this one, is so when he goes, if he doesn't go for second reading, he would have died. So it's not a problem. Thank you. Thank you. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the first order of the day is a motion requesting the Senate to consider the request of Mr. President and Commander-in-Chief for the confirmation of the nomination of Mrs. Olayinka Oladunjoye for appointment as Commissioner representing Lagos State in the National Population Commission in accordance with the provisions of Section 154, subsection 1 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as 1999 as altered. Mr. President, distinguished senators, the purpose of this motion on the order paper is for the request of Mr. President and Commander-in-Chief to be referred to the relevant committee for further legislative action. I therefore move that the Senate do consider the request of Mr. President and Commander-in-Chief for the confirmation of the nomination of Mrs. Olayinka Oladunjoye for appointment as Commissioner representing Lagos State in the National Population Commission. I so move, Mr. President.
The Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to second the motion moved by the Leader of the Senate that the Senate do consider the confirmation of the nomination of Mrs. Olayinka Oladunjoye for appointment as Commissioner representing Lagos State in the National Population Commission. I so second.
Yes, distinguished colleagues. the motion has been moved and seconded that this Senate do consider it has not gone to the committee yet, that this Senate do consider and refer the Mr. President nominee, Mrs. Olayinka Oladunoje, for appointment as Commissioner representing Lagos State in the National Population Commission. Those who are in support of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. So the screening of the nominee is hereby referred to the Committee on National Identity Card and National Population Commission to report back to the Senate in 1 week. Senate Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the second order of the day is the presentation of national planning and economic affairs, as well as local and foreign debts on the 2024 to 2026 medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Sani Musa to move the motion for the Senate to receive and consider the report of the committee. I so move, Mr. President.
Distinguished Senator Sani Musa.
Thank you, Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues. My name is Mohammed Sani Musa, representing Niger East Senatorial District. I move that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Joint Committee on Finance, Appropriation, National Planning and Economic Affairs, and local and foreign debts on the 2024 to 2026 medium-term expenditure framework, MTEF, and fiscal strategy paper. I so move. I so second. No, I'm moving, not seconding. No, I'm to move. I so move. I'm to move.
Yes, any seconder. Distinguished Senator Jaribe.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I'm Senator Jaribe Agom Jaribe. I so second the motion as moved by Senator Sani.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded. Those who are in support of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Yes, distinguished Senator Sani Musa. You may proceed. So it's so moved. The minority leader, the Senate leader has moved that the third order of the day, the second reading of the Bitumen Development Commission bill be stood down to the next legislative date. Please, can you second the motion?
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to second the motion that the consideration of the bill for the establishment of Bitumen Development Commission of Nigeria is hereby stood down. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the Senate leader has moved a motion that the third order of the day, the Bitumen Development Commission Bill 2023 SB 07 be stood down to another legislative date, and it has been so seconded. Those in support of this motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. So this is hereby stood down for another legislative date. The Senate leader.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the fourth order of the day is the second reading of the Federal College of Geological and Cement Studies, Iselu, Yewa North, Ogun State, Establishment Bill 2023, SB 109. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read for the first time in this chamber on Thursday, 5th October 2023. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Olamilekan Adeola Solomon to move the motion for the bill to be read a second time.
Distinguished Senator Solomon Olamilekan.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, I understand distinguished Senator
Yes, distinguished Senator Solomon Olamilekan, Chairman Appropriation, running out of Appropriation Committee meeting. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very distinguished colleague, Adeola Solomon Olamilekan, representing Ogun West Senatorial District in the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Mr. President, distinguished colleague, may I lead the debate on the bill for an act to establish the Federal College of Geological and Cement Studies, Iselu, Yewa North, Ogun State, SB 109, that was sponsored by my very humble self. Mr. President, distinguished colleague, permit me to lead the debate on this important bill for the establishment of Federal College of Geological and Cement Study Iselu, Yewa North, Ogun State, for training of geologists and other specialists related to solid mineral sectors and for award of certification at different levels. The bill was read for the first time in this Allo chamber on Thursday, 5th October 2023. Mr. President, the Nigerian cement industry plays a critical role in our nation's infrastructural development. Accordingly, to publish a report of 2022, the three major players in the industries are Dangote Cement PLC being the leader with 60.6% of the market shares and installed capacity of 29.3 million metric tons. Lafarge has 21.8% with a production capacity of 10.5 million tons, while Bua Cement accounts for 17.6%. with plan for increase in the production capacity. The investment in this sector runs into billions of United States dollars, and its effective operation to ensure backward integration and local content requires a skilled personnel locally. Mr. President, distinguished colleague, the proposed college will be the first of its kind that will be located in an area with massive deposit of limestone that lies underground in most parts of Ogun West Senatorial District, which I am representing, up to even Republic of Benin. Already, the Senatorial District has the presence of the three major players in the industry that are producing cement for local and international markets. There is no doubt that education in relevant field is a prerequisite for qualitative manpower development. A specialist institution, as proposed here, have important role to play in the preparation of young people for middle-level skilled position for their effective participation in the industry towards national economic growth and development. Mr. President, distinguished colleague, the community where this specialized education institution is to be located, Iselu, have the advantage of proximity to the international producing cement like the Dangote Cement at Ibeshi, Yewa South, Yewa North, Lafarge at Ewekuru, and other including Bua Cement, Diamond Cement, and Gateway Cement, among others. The graduate of this college will provide ready middle-level skilled manpower for the industry that holds a huge promise for the nation's economic growth and development. In addition, one of the key advantages for establishing this college is the readiness of the Iselu community to provide 500 acres of land purposely to accommodate the proposed college. The establishment of this institution at Iselu will also address one of the major challenges of our nation, which is the underdevelopment of our border communities. It is my sincere belief that locating such institution at the border community, which Iselu fall within, will not only be educationally advantageous, but also help in curtailing some criminal activities in the area, as well as providing social infrastructure for the border community. Mr. President, distinguished colleague, the objective of this college when established are to, 1, provide courses of instruction, training, and research for geophysical survey, geochemical mapping, geological engineering, geological mapping, and for research in the development and adaptation of techniques leading to award of relevant certificates. 2, provide technical, professional, and other skilled personnel normally required for the industries in the solid mineral sector. 3, arrange conferences, seminars, and study groups relevant to the field of learning. The enactment of this bill will help assist in transforming and reviving the solid mineral sector that fall into the doldrum within the advent of crude oil yielding a petrodollar. For our economic survival and growth, it is now clear that the solid mineral sector must be optimally developed to yield increase for national development in addition to petrol dollar. Establishment of the Federal College of Geological and Cement Study in Iselu, which will be in line with the National Development Plan to 1, optimize the human capital and improve productive and create jobs with youth at the core of this initiative, equipping the workforce with the competencies needed on the job market pursuant of our local content policy, creating an enabling environment for private investment in the target sector, generating inclusive economic growth and building a society where development gains are shared by all Nigerians, and help thousands of unemployed youth to fit into the social life of the community and society at large and enhance their commitment to a national goal. In compliance with Order 76 of 3 of the Senate Standing Rule, as amended, attached for the necessary information of the distinguished senators is the compendium and financial implication of the bill. I therefore urge all my very distinguished colleagues to support the second reading of this bill. Thank you.
Senator Sadiq.
I so submit, Mr. President.
Senator Sadiq. Thank you, Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues. I am Sadiq Sulaiman Umar. I represent the good and decent people of Kwara North who are. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, I rise to second and support that this bill be allowed to go for second reading. This is anchored on 2 basic arguments of mine. 1, we know how solid minerals is going to be our next source of petrodollars in this country. And any effort in strengthening systems that will support the optimal and best use of our solid mineral should not be left behind in this country. And this effort of our colleague in establishing this Federal College of Geological and Cement Studies, Iselu Yewa North, Ogun State, is one of such laudable efforts. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, the location of this institution, which is a border community, is of interest to me as a senator that represents a border community. We have argued here repeatedly that part of the challenges in the border community, which is 1, infrastructural challenges, educational challenges, health challenges, and socioeconomic challenges generally, is a national security issue. And if we don't make deliberate interventions and efforts to see that our border communities are properly integrated, properly taken care of, they will continue to be a source of insecurity. I therefore request that this bill is straightforward. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, we should allow it to go for second reading for the reasons I have stated. I so second, Mr. President.
Distinguished Madoki.
Good afternoon, distinguished Senate President, my colleague. I rise to make a comment on this bill, sir. I'm happy that this bill, my name is Garba Musa Maidoki, Senator representing Kebbi South Senatorial District. Sir, without prejudice to what this bill intends to achieve, I'm particularly happy that this bill is being submitted by the chairman of the appropriation. But for him to get my support, I need him to tell us what are the appropriation shortfall for the university that already exist. Most of the universities today, they are complaining of lack of funding. All of them are all in the same quagmire. Where will the resources come from? You distinguished senators, we need to look at the nation as a whole. We need to understand where the resources come from so that we don't do half-baked issues. We establish a school and then there is no resources to sustain it. I'm happy that the person who is sponsoring this bill is here, but he needs to tell us. I know the university we have in our place have all complained to me that there is no money to run things around. Please, we want this to be expatiated so that we can see, because maybe there are things the chairman of appropriations see which we don't see regarding the money that will be used to finance other universities, not only this one. Thank you very much. I so submit.
What distinguished Senator Issa Jibril.
Your Excellency, the President of the Senate, distinguished colleagues, I am Issa Jibril, representing the very good people of Kogi East. Your Excellency, I rise to wholeheartedly support the second reading of this bill, based on the fact that this is a specialized institution to train people in special areas required for the factories there to function effectively. We have the likes of Bua, we have Lafarge, we have Dangote there. These companies are into production of cement. What this college is going to achieve is that it will train the youths around that area, okay, on specific skills required for the effective functioning of these factories. So I don't want to believe that this is an institution that will engage all forms of trainees. No. These are people that require special skills, and these are people that are going to be trained to effectively man the factories that are there for optimal performance. So I wholeheartedly support the second reading of this bill, and I want to believe that the cost implication is not going to be elaborate, because the skills are specific. They are not going to read different courses there. They are going to read courses that are specific, that are tailor-made for the specific purpose of the skills required for the effective functioning of the factories mentioned here. So I want to believe that the second reading of this, I want to support wholeheartedly the second reading of this bill. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Distinguished Senator Father Honsi, then after that.
Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, I wholeheartedly support the establishment of this school around Ibishi, and that's around border areas, and where you have the large deposit of these particular limestones, which form almost 85% of the production of cement, and the collection of all the cement factories in this country. The concentration is in that place. And to answer Senator Medoki, it's almost self-financing, because it's just like establishing a research university for those Dangote cement factory, Bua factory, Lafarge, and so on. These are the real cement factories that are really producing in large quantity for the country and West Africa as a whole. That is what they call real dollar source to the country. It's a very, the proposal of this bill is so intelligent that he has done his research. And for people like us who have come from that area and we have gone around the whole area, we know that there was one Onibolo cement factory that is almost moribund, which Nigerians ceded to the Republic of Benin. This factory now, this research institute or university, we provide a lot to bring in a lot of naira and a dollar to the purse that is already depleted. On this alone, and with all other factors like provision of infrastructural facilities around that area that is almost backward, Nigeria doesn't need to spend a lot because it's almost self-financing. With this, and employment opportunities for these youth that are really
almost killing all of us because of lack of employment. I support this, and I hope my own colleagues will have to support him so that at least we can feel a sign of relief. Thank you, Mr. President.
The distinguished Senator Olamileko, I hope you are listening to the tone of the debate. Because when the Senator Father Honsi was speaking, he made reference to institute, and the other person made reference to university. So, okay, so it's, no, I know. I'm saying, so when you are concluding, you'll be able to correct so that members will know exactly what is being established. Yes, Deputy Senate President.
Mr. President, I stand to support this bill in its entirety. I stand to speak because of my concern in favor of developing our human resources. Mr. President, in the entire world as we speak, every meaningful effort, be it business or anything, the number one thing that drives it is human resources. Very, very important factor. Now, we are talking about our mineral resources that's being exploited in that area, not only that area, but in some other area, even Kogi and other states of the Federation. We are talking about establishing an institution that will provide human resources to drive these enterprises. As we speak, several expatriates are being brought into this country to man these factories. Go to Dangote, you see a lot of Indians, a lot of expatriates. If you go to Lafarge, a lot of expatriates. How much? The money that's been spent to bring them into work in this country is very, very much. What we are going to do, or what we are going to utilize to establish this institution, is a meager amount compared to what we pay to hire these expatriates. It's not more than 10% or 5%. What are we talking about? Create the institution, bring our young men to go into these schools, let them be trained, and come and work in these factories. Simple. So it's very, very important we give our support to get this, institute established. I mean, I have to commend the sponsor. It's a well-thought idea, because the money we are spending to hire this, if you go there, you think you are not even in Nigeria. You see expatriates all over. So it's a meager amount, just very. In fact, schools, establish more and more schools in this country. The more the merrier. The more the merrier. Let's train our youth, and then they can even go, let them go out and work in any part of the world, and then they bring remittances to us. Is that what is happening in countries like India? The remittances they have every year, if you hear about the amount, you begin to imagine. So let's train our youth here. Some of them should work here if they want to go and man some other seven. Like Dangote has several 7 factories all over the world. I mean, in Africa, several. So if you train these children here, these youth, they can even go to Gambia, they can go to Zambia, where we have Dangote has cement factory, work there. So for me, one is not even enough, create more. So I support and I urge my colleagues to support this bill. Thank you.
Dismissed Senator Olare.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. My name is Olalere Oyewumi. I represent Osun West Senatorial District. I want to lend my voice to this very, very important and timely bill. And I want to make it clear, sir, this is what Nigeria needs at this point in time. We've had so many universities where you train engineers, but you don't have technicians. This is a college. It's not referring to a university where you train middle-level manpower. That is where we miss it. We have so many universities of technology, but when you have one engineer, he controls more than 50 technicians under it. And that is one of the problems this bill tends to solve. So I want to support you wholeheartedly, because Our youth, in many after their secondary schools, not everyone that go to university. This will fill the gap of training our people in practical skills that will follow them to anywhere in the world. It's not necessarily Nigeria. And I think more of these kind of specialized colleges should be established in the country to train our youth in special skill acquisition, so that wherever they find themselves, whether in Nigeria or outside Nigeria, they have something to offer. And that is where we can create employment opportunity for the people. So I'm supporting what and even the cost here is just 2 billion plus, because it is specialized skill and it's a college. So I support it, and I want our colleague to support it for the second reading. Thank you, Mr. President.
Distinguished Senator Otumba Gbenga Daniel.
Senate President, my distinguished colleagues, I'm Otumba Engineer Gbenga Daniel, representing Ogun East, and also rise to support and also urge all our colleagues to support this bill. A number of people were confused, thinking that another university is being planned. And based on what we've said here time and time again, that moving forward our country, we need more now of technical education than universities. This is indeed a specialized institution, and as you've been told, the Ogun State limestone belt is probably the largest in the sub-region of West Africa. Multiple cement companies are coming in on a daily basis. A lot of pollution is taking place there, environmental factors, and without doubt, the situation can be supported by this kind of institution, and also to support the large number of unemployed youths terrorizing that area. So, Mr. President and my distinguished colleagues, I plead with you to kindly support this bill wholeheartedly. Thank you, sir.
Distinguished Senator Oshomole.
Mr. Senate President, thank you very much for the opportunity. Let me introduce myself. I'm Madam Saliu Oshomole. I represent the great people of Edo North in Edo State. I just want to add my voice to the eloquent support of this bill, as already suggested by a number of my colleagues. The areas I'm worrying about is about establishing universities that become avenue for all sorts of studies. And Nigeria, I have met a number of contractors, a number of employers. And they speak to the fact that although there are so many young people who are unemployed, but many are even unemployable. Not because they didn't go to school, but because they went to read courses that the economy does not need. I think for me, it makes perfect sense to begin to shift emphasis away from universities to establishing technical institutions. And the cost may not be the way in which the overhead of a university is much larger than the overhead of a technical institution. In any case, I think the gentleman who spoke to the fact that if we have more young, skilled people, I think that is the Deputy Senate President, that in the long run, what we invest today, we yield much more tomorrow. I will support this institution because I believe it will generate, it will create opportunity to skill young men and women, and that is the area I wanted to amend the Deputy Senate President statement. When we say young men, we must also be increasingly sensitive about gender, and young women too, to work in our industries rather than importing expatriates that end up repatriating their salaries in foreign currency. Mr. President, I can't see any disadvantage. We cannot have too many skilled people. We can't have too many young, equipped people. And therefore, no cost can be too much. And in any case, the cost of running an institution is a fraction relative to the cost of establishing a university. So I support in total this bill. Perhaps you may need to add technical college so that it doesn't lose focus over time.
Thank you for your contribution, and thank you for being gender sensitive. I've always known you as a man who is very gender sensitive. So, distinguished Senator Dixon.
Thank you, Mr. President, and my dear colleagues. Henry Siraki Dixon, and I represent Bayelsa West. Mr. President, I believe in building educational institutions, and built a number while I served as governor, and even now, I'm proprietor of the first private university in my state now. So I can't speak against the establishment of any educational institution, any institution that is meant to add to our skilled manpower base in this country, because we really need it. But I will be failing in my duties if I don't, because I support the establishment of an institution, and therefore support the fact that this bill be read a second time if I don't point out my concerns about the nomenclature. I know it can be dealt with in the course of the public hearing, but to have a technical college of geological studies, I thought should have been sufficient for the purpose. But to go further and add cement studies, and I wouldn't want to be understood or misunderstood as if I'm speaking against it, which is why I'm in support of it. But I will be failing in my duties. That's why we are here. It's a repository of a lot of experience, knowledge from different sectors. And what we do, motions that pass through us, resolutions, bills, must meet a certain standard of elegance and of appropriateness, both now and for the future. And anything we do must stand the test of time and meet certain so. But to say we should have a school for geological studies, yes, technical, color, whatever, however couched. And I think that in their operations, they can deal with any subject matter, including cement, including steel, including whatever. But for us to now say, and cement studies, this is actually the very first time I'm hearing that kind of cement. You can have an institution to build capacity in that sector. And I just thought, although, like I said earlier, these concerns can be dealt with at the public hearing. At this stage of the bill, we are to decide whether it should go for second reading or not, so that the legislative process, the experts can come and fine-tune it and so on. But I just felt I should draw our attention to that, and perhaps the relevant committee or committees that will work on it will do justice to it at that level. But in general principle, I'm in support of the establishment of this, not another university, even though I'm not opposed to establishment of as many universities, but this is a technical institution for geological studies, geological research, geological studies, and so on. Along the line, they can deal with anything that falls far and in between. So that's what I want to say for now, sir.
Let me say that most of the feelings we have will definitely be addressed at the public hearing. But I've noted what you said, that having technical college of geological studies will cover cement studies. But because actually before you have cement, you must have limestone. Am I right? So I don't know which one we should study, whether it's the cement or the limestone. Distinguished Senator Ned Moko.
Thank you, Mr. President and my colleagues. My contribution in this regard is limited to the financing. I noted what Senator Maidoki said, his concerns about the funding. Yes, I support every institution of higher learning, particularly one that is specialized like this. However, we should be able to have a clause in the bill that will compel the operators in that industry to contribute a fraction of their profit. If we do that, it becomes their responsibility at the end of the day for future fundings. After all, the young ones that we're talking about are particularly being trained for that sector. And those companies are there to make profit. So it is something that should be done expressly in the bill, that 5%, 2%, whatever it is, of their profit, of their gross profit, is dedicated to that institution. That will help federal government from, focusing on other areas. And I think that point should be made clear, Mr. President. Thank you.
Distinguished Senator Idiot.
The Senate President, distinguished colleagues, my name is Idiat Oluroti Adebule. I represent the good people of Lagos West. I rise to support that this bill should go for second reading in view of my conviction that the bill will assist in transforming and reviving the solid mineral sector and, of course, be able to provide employment for the young youth within the community and Nigeria as a whole. Again, we must also understand, and I quickly would like to agree with Senator Dixon that we should look critically, we should review the name of the school, or what exactly the school will be addressing, because we believe that a geological college definitely will be looking at the issue of cement, and of course every other issue that may come up, or any other thing that may think that the school can address for the good of the community, for the good of the state, and for the good of Nigeria. Distinguished colleagues, I'm in total support of this bill to go for second reading, and I commend Senator Olamileko for bringing this up. Thank you.
Yes. Distinguished Senator Mongodu.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, my name is Mohamed Tahir Munguno. I represent Borno North Senatorial District. I think first and foremost I want to clear the various arguments that is being propounded by various speakers as to the proper name that this college is supposed to bear. I think the intention of the sponsor of this bill is for the establishment of a monotechnic that will be charged with the responsibility for the development and exploration and exploitation of limestone, which is the raw materials for the manufacture of cement. So, subject to the intention of the sponsor of the bill, I think the original bill intention is establishment of a monotechnic that will be charged with the responsibility for the exploitation of limestone, and then ultimately the production of cement. Having said that, I totally support the second reading of this bill against two reasons. One is the issue of the fact that under the renewed hope agenda of the present government, the major drive or the philosophical cornerstone of the renewed hope agenda is the diversification of the Nigerian economy away from oil to other sources of revenue, especially against the backdrop of the fact that oil is a wasting asset. And one of the sectors that has remained unexploited and we have huge potentials in this country is the issue of exploitation of the solid minerals sector, having regard to the minute percentage that it contributes to our GDP, which is not commensurate to the huge potentials that we have. So the establishment of this college will go a long way by way of backward integration of the teaching of our young men and women in the study of the exploitation of limestone and what have you, which would go a long way in creating employment for our teeming unemployed youths, and then with all the attendant advantage of reducing the hydra-headed problem of insecurity that we have across the nooks and crannies of this country. So this bill is in consonance with the renewed hope agenda of the present government that seeks to diversify the economy from oil to other sources of revenue, and also the advantage of creating employment to our unemployed youths, and then attracting the much needed foreign exchange in view of the fact that our external reserve is depleting, and then the advantage of also strengthening our currency, which is being gradually losing its value against other major currencies. So, Senator Olamilekon, I thank you for your foresight and for your vision and bringing a motion in tandem with what this government intends to do. Thank you.
Distinguished Senator Wasiu.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I join my colleagues in supporting this, that this bill be read the second time. I think the name of the institution is a deliberate attempt by the sponsor. The reason is not far-fetched. Geological studies is the study of the earth, and so many minerals abound in there, including gold, including whatever inside the earth, but with special focus on cement, because cement is very, very important in the build industry in Nigeria. It is what we need, and we cannot run away from it. It's either we have the resource personnel that will continually service this industry. Ordinarily, we have a localized industry in the Yewa area for cement, and if they should not go into extinct, it must have people who have knowledge, deliberate knowledge, to take those industry to greater heights. I don't think that it is a mistake. No, I support deliberately because it wants them to focus, do the geology, but special focus on cement. And I agree with the sponsor. I think, like my colleagues did mention, this is not a university. It is a study center, like a monotechnic, like Senator Mogunu did mention, that will provide the middle-level human powers for this industry. The name is apt and correct and should be left as it is, and I support it to be read the second time, sir. Thank you very much.
Dismissed Senator Jimo Ibrahim.
President, distinguished colleague, I want to thank you for opportunity to contribute to this debate. Mr. Senate President, this is not a university. My name is Jimo Ibrahim, representing Ondo South Central District. This is not a proposal for establishment of a university. And it will not, this is not under the regulation of the Nigerian University Commission. They have nothing practically to do with this. Like rightly said earlier, Mr. Senate President, this is a technical bill. This is a technical institution that will be established to take care of urgent and most important technical needs. Now in practice, the challenge we have is skill. We don't have enough people. In fact, we don't have enough geologists that will be able to even teach in this school. They need to create them for various geology departments across Nigeria. So having a technical school like this will lead to building more manpower and engagement in a product that is very fundamental to economic development. When we talk about cement production today, Mr. Senate President, we talk about importation. This eats deeply into our foreign exchange. But if we have it locally produced from the efforts of captains of industries that we have, this bill, when passed, and when the institution is established, it will fundamentally help to create the needs and reduce this foreign dependency and exportation of our few currencies, changing them to dollar to import cement. Now, Mr. Senate President, I want to say clearly, yes, we take notice, judicial notice, of the existence of geology department in some of the nation institutions. But establishing this one will create a room for them. This is one of their own, and we need them. Geologists, we need them in this cement exploration. We need them in fundamental issues in geophysics, as well as exploration, even in bitumen, in oil, and all that. Every field of engagement, as you will know, Mr. Senate President, from your experience as governor of Akwa Ibom, that a lot of geophysical survey is needed to confront difficult terrains, as we have in Bayelsa, in Eseodo, and in Laje. So we can take a clue from this. And I mostly thank the lead debate mover for bringing this, because this is an urgent national importance. Even if it costs Nigeria money, the money you will get back from all the gains that we talk about. So I stand to urge my colleague with due respect to support the passage of the second reading of this very important, very, very serious bill that for the first time is addressing technical matter that is so germane and very important to our economic development. If we are to move as a nation, there is need for us to pass a geological bill that will establish a geological school that will help confront difficult terrains, as we have in Akwa Ibom, as we have in Bayelsa, as we have in Eseodo, as we have in Laje. And once these are done, then we will have a reference institution, Mr. Senate President, by which we can actually be rested upon. I so support. Thank you, sir.
Well, finally, after the Prof has spoken, let us just hear from our sister who comes from the state of limestone in abundance, distinguished Senator Natasha Odwagan. Use your microphone.
Thanks for calling on me, our beloved Senate President. I am Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, representing the patriotic citizens of Kogi Central. And I'd like to partly support the bill, and I'd also pinch my tent with Senator Meidoki. My concern is straightforward. Inasmuch as I support the need to develop brains and build capacity, I'm also very concerned about establishing a number of technical colleges, especially when we do have existing polytechnics. and universities that can have their departments of engineering or geophysical sciences expatiated to accommodate a number of these studies. Take, for example, the Imperial College London. The Imperial College London, over time, like many other universities, over time, they have incorporated various departments and centers that will take care of earth sciences and other special courses. So I would say that we should identify a number of federal polytechnics across Nigeria and urge them to create departments under the Faculty of Engineering so that they can accommodate an expatiated study of geosciences and various other minerals so that we can build capacity and skills that could contribute to the cement industry and other allied industries. In addition to that, we do have a number of tech hubs. Mr. President, you can recall that we do have some redundant tech hubs in Akwa Ibom. So these tech hubs can be established to develop specialized skills in the cement industries. And therein, we can call on the private sectors, such as Dangote, Boa Cement, and they could, through their CSR, volunteer some funds, a mentorship, and other services to build the capacities of our priming youths. So yes, I do support the need to develop knowledge and skills that will support the manufacturing sectors, especially the cement industry, but I am very concerned and worried about the growing costs that will come about when establishing specialized monotechnics. And to round up, like I said, we should identify a number of polytechnics, federal polytechnics across Nigeria, and urge them to expatiate their engineering department to incorporate centers that will take care of growing the skills in geosciences and mineral studies. Thank you.
Distinguished colleagues, let me thank all of us for our various contributions, and particularly thank distinguished Senator Adiola Solomon Olamileko for bringing this, proposing this institute and college, which will be a very specialized college that will study limestone, cement manufacturing, and other technical matters imbuing our children, technical skills that will enable them to work in various factories. We thank God also for the abundance of mineral resources in all parts of the country, and I'm very convinced that if this goes through the public reading and is passed and is established, it will be to the benefit of all Nigerian children. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that this bill be now read a second time, say aye. Aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish the Federal College of Geological and Cement Studies, Iselu, Yewa North, Ogun State Establishment Bill 2023, second reading.
Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to establish the Federal College of Geological and Cement Studies, Iselu, Yewa North, Ogun State Establishment Bill 2023. Second reading taken. This bill is now referred to the Committee on Tertiary Institutions, STEPFON, to report back in 2 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, We had stood down the second order of the day because we're waiting for the MTF report to be ready and distributed to distinguished senators. And having been made to understand that the report is now on the floor, may I as the report is being distributed, Mr. President, distinguished senators, I would like to just announce again the second order of the day, which is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Joint Committee on Finance, Appropriation, National Planning and Economic Affairs, as well as Committee on Local and Foreign Debt on the 2024-2026 Medium-Term Expenditure Framework and Fiscal Strategy Paper. Mr. President, you may again wish to invite distinguished Senator Sani Musa to present the report. His earlier motion having been seconded and approved for that presentation. I thank you, Mr. President.
The Minority Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I write to second the motion that the Chairman Committee on Finance do present the report. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, this was stood down for further deliberations, and now that everything has been shared on this MTF report, is it the view of the Senate that the chairman be invited to continue with his presentation? Those in support say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished Senator Sani Musa, you may now proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm Mohammed Sani Musa, representing Niger East Senatorial District. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the Senate at its sitting, as I mentioned earlier, referred the MTF to the Joint Committee, of which we invited about 76 MDAs, GOEs, and had an interactive session to know what their expenditures and their projections are, both for the previous years and the ones for 2024 to 2026. And what we did, we looked at the budget implementation for the year 2023, which was faced with many socio-economic and political challenges in the country, like the transition program, removal of fuel subsidy, unification of exchange rate, and liberalization of the exchange rate market. At international level, the Russian-Ukraine war, which disrupted global oil and energy market, and the ongoing Israel-Palestine war. We also looked at the revenue outturns for 2023, oil and non-oil revenue in 2023. The federal government of Nigeria's share of oil revenues was about 813.1 billion naira, which represents about 62.6% performance, while non-oil tax revenues total 1.8 trillion, a performance of 127.7%. The CIT and VAT collections were 1.1 trillion and 234 billion, representing about 212.4% and 104.8% of their respective targets. Customs collection made up of import duties, excise and fees, as well as Federation accounts special levies, recorded 432.96 billion out of 600.
Yes, point of order.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, I rise under Order 8 sub 3 to move for extension of time to enable the Senate take care of all we have on the order paper today so that we can see beyond 2 p.m.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, I I rise to second the motion moved by the leader that the time be extended beyond 2 o'clock. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has moved and seconded that this Senate do extend the time of its sitting beyond 2 o'clock to conclude the business of the day. Those in support of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished Senator Sani Musa, you may continue.
The expenditure outturns in 2023, the aggregate expenditure for year 2023 was estimated at 21.8 trillion, with a prorated spending target of 12.2 trillion at the end of July. The actual spending was 8.6 trillion. Of this amount, 3.9 trillion was for debt service and 2.68 trillion for personal costs, including pensions. Only about 857.08 billion, which represent about 25% of the pro rata budget, has been released for MDA's capital expenditure as at July 2023. The crude oil production projection for 2024 to 2026, following consultation with stakeholders, crude oil production is projected at 1.78 million barrels per day, 1.8 million barrels per day, and 1.81 million barrels per day in 2024, 2025, and 2026, respectively. The crude oil price benchmark, after taking into consideration the Energy Information Administration, EIA, the World Bank forecast, the 2024 to 2026 MTEP crude oil price benchmark was projected at $73.96 in 2024, $73.76 in 2025, and $69.9 in 2026. However, achieving the 2024 to 2026 targets depends largely on external factors currently taking shape and beyond the control of the Nigerian economy. The non-oil revenue baseline assumptions, the estimates were taking into consideration significant growth of domestic economic activities as well as the effective implementation of the National Development Plan 2021 to 2025. Hence, the gross operating profits of firms for which CIT forecast was derived is assumed to average 9.3 trillion for 2024, 10.6 trillion for 2025, and 11.2 trillion for 2026, after adjusting the firms in the informal sector. VAT, value-added tax, is assumed to increase from an average of 35 trillion in 2024 to 40 trillion in 2025 and 45 trillion in 2026. The VAT projections over the medium term are based on holding the rate at 7.5%, while the electronic money transfer levy is projected based on volume of eligible online transfer transactions of 2.7 trillion in 2024, 3.1 trillion in 2025, and 3.8 trillion in 2026. The macroeconomic projection of the medium-term fiscal framework and the major key parameters, as well as other macroeconomic projections driving the proposed 2024 to 2026 medium-term macroeconomic, you will look at it at the report on page 29. The summary is given there. The revenue expenditure framework upon which the 2024 Federal Government of Nigeria budget will be predicated is as follows. 1. Daily crude oil production will be 1.78 million barrels per day. 2. Benchmark oil price will be USD 73.96 per barrel. Exchange rate will be $700 naira per dollar. Gross domestic product growth rate will be 3.76%. Inflation growth rate will be 21.40%. Federal Government of Nigeria retained revenue will be 16.9 trillion naira. Total federal government proposed expenditure will be 26 trillion naira. Physical deficit will be 9 trillion for GOEs. New borrowings will be 7.8 trillion naira, including foreign and domestic borrowing. Personnel costs for MDAs will be 4.49 trillion naira. Pension, gratuities, and retirees' benefits will be 1.2 trillion naira. Capital expenditure, excluding of transfers, will be 6.8 trillion naira. Statutory transfers will be 1.2 trillion naira. Debt service will be 8.2 trillion naira. Sinking fund will be 246.6 billion naira. Total federal government of Nigeria expenditure for the year 2024 will be 26 trillion naira. Total recurrent non-debts will be 10.2 trillion naira. Total intervention, that is the recurrent, will be 200 billion naira, and special intervention capital will be 7 billion. Now I will go to the findings and observations. After due consideration of the submissions by the MDAs, the Joint Committee observed as follows. The suggested benchmark oil price are USD 73.96, 73.76, and 69.9 per barrel for 2024, 2025, and 2026. You can find that in page 30 of the report. 2, the new administration has provided an enabling environment for an increased oil production volume from an average of 1.2 million barrels per day to about 1.6 million barrels in the previous 3 years to a projection of 1.78 million barrels per day in 2024, 1.8 million barrels per day in 2025, and 1.8 million barrels in 2026. 3, the GDP growth rate of 3.76, 4.22, and 4.78 is projected for 2024, 2025, and 2026 respectively, based on the new policy direction of the present administration. The forex market has been liberalized and the exchange rate has been unified. The suggested benchmark exchange rate naira to dollar for 2024, 2025, and 2026 was set for 700, 665, and 669. Correspondingly, however, the exchange rate pressures on the naira is due to lack of stable foreign reserve as a result of lack of export of locally produced goods. 5. That's why the difficulties associated with eliminating fuel subsidies. The Central Bank of Nigeria has taken steps to control the inflation rates and lessen pressure on the value of naira in the foreign exchange market. Resultantly, the CBN estimated inflation rate is projected to reduce from 27.33% in October 2023 to an average of 21.40% in 2024, 20.3% in 2025, and 18.6% in 2026. 6. Following the criteria in the overview of the framework for revenues and expenses, which form the basis of the 2024 Federal Government of Nigeria budget, FGM proposed spending of 26 trillion, of which 16.9 trillion was retained. New borrowing of 7.8 trillion, including borrowing from foreign and domestic, debt service to revenue ratio of 49%, pension gratuities and retiree benefits of 1.2 trillion, and a fiscal deficit of 9 trillion, including the GOEs. 7. The projected 16.96 trillion revenues to the federal government for the 2024 fiscal year is attainable with effective revenue monitoring exercise and oversight by the relevant committees of the National Assembly. 8. The projected fiscal deficit of 9.04 trillion, 10.02, and 11.48 trillion proposed for the 2024, 2025, and 2026 fiscal years are 22%, 13.6%, and 1% lower than the 11.6 trillion fiscal deficit for the year 2023. The proposed strategy for government in 2024 towards deficit financing is to increase funding from privatization proceeds and foreign borrowing and reduce funding from multilateral and bilateral project-tied loans and domestic borrowing. 9, the federal government's commitment to progressively restructure the debt portfolio towards achieving a balanced domestic to external debt ratio is evident in the 2024-2025 to 2026 MTEF and FSP. 10, a significant number of the federal government's revenue-generating agencies engage in arbitrary, frivolous, and extra-budgetary expenditure. 11, most of the revenue agencies violate the Fiscal Responsibility Act of 2007 due to lack of punitive provisions in the Act. Most agencies are not complying with financial reporting standards. 13, some revenue-generating agencies were involved in joint ventures agreements, especially in the oil and gas sector, where forward sales agreements are executed for upfront payment for future product delivery without recourse to National Assembly. This trend was also observed in other sectors, notably in the power sector, where purchase agreements were entered into by MBET and NDPHC, committing federal government to a whopping $40 million monthly take or pay agreement, even when the agencies are fully aware that the country has limitations in meeting up with the obligations of the agreement. Such agreements subject the country to international arbitrations, which exposes the country to huge contingent liabilities. In 2024 alone, contingent liabilities of government are estimated at 6.9 trillion naira, 7.7 trillion naira for 2025 and 2026 respectively. You can see the content of the contingent liabilities, which indicates Federal Mortgage Bank having in 2022 to 2023 about 5.2 and 5.2 billion, FCDA, Katampe Infrastructure, Nigerian Ports Authority, Nigerian Import, Export and Import Banks, Nigerian Mortgage Refinance Company, and so on, which you can see on the table in page 32, are all contingent liabilities created by such agreements. The above contingent liabilities are as a result of various agreements signed on behalf of the federal government of Nigeria by various GOEs and MDAs and some states, but guaranteed by the federal government of Nigeria. However, it was observed that most of these agreements were never brought to the National Assembly for consideration. Hence, these agreements were domiciled and subject to international laws or legal systems. 15, that many agencies, particularly those in charge of collecting stamp duties, do not use information and communication technology, ICT, effectively for revenue collection. 16, the subsidiaries of NIPOST Properties Limited and NIPOST Transport and Logistics Limited were created out of NIPOST with individuals as shareholders without any share allotted to NIPOST as an entity. 17, the sum of 10 billion naira was released from Ministry of Finance for the restructuring and recapitalization in 2022 of NIPOST without corresponding results. 18, that despite the deficit budget, the proposed tax waivers to be granted in 2024 is 2.7 trillion. 2025 is 3.2 trillion naira, and 2026 is 3.8 trillion naira. This constitutes 30% of the total fiscal deficit for 2024, 31% for 2025, and 32% for 2026. Recommendations. In the light of the above findings, the committee makes the following recommendations. 1, the benchmark oil price of USD 73.96, $73.76, and $69.9 per barrel be approved for 2024, 2025, and 2026 respectively. That the daily crude oil production of 1.78 million barrels per day, 1.8 million barrels per day, and 1.81 million barrels per day for 2024, 2025, and 2026 respectively be approved, subject to NNPC confirmation of actual and verifiable deliveries. 3, the exchange rate of 700 naira, 665.61 naira, and 669.79 naira to $1 US proposed by the executive for the periods of 2024 to 2026 be considered for approval, with federal government vigorous drive to enhance local production, both oil and non-oil, for increased foreign reserve growth. 4, that all items locally produced should be outrightly banned from importation and customs tariffs amended accordingly. 5, that CBN should ensure that banks have access to forex in order to provide funds to importers and other users to prevent patronage of the parallel market. 6, that in light of the federal government's response of physical measures to stimulate the economy by significant investment in infrastructure, SMEs, and the agricultural sector, the GDP growth rate of 3.76%, 4.2%, and 4.78% during the years of 2024, 2025, and 2026 be approved. 7, the inflation rate of 21.4% in 2024, 20.30% in 2025, and 18.60% in 2026 be approved. 8, that the federal government's target setting approach and its determination to enhance the major revenue generating agencies' collection efficiency will support the fiscal deficit estimate of 9 trillion naira, including the GOEs, is noted and is hereby approved or recommended for approval. 9, that the federal government should continue to enforce the implementation of the performance management framework for GOEs by ensuring that they operate in a more physically responsible manner while reviewing their operational efficiencies and declared costs to income ratios. 10, that the 7.8 trillion naira in new borrowings, both domestic and foreign, be supported as well, given the country's current effective debt management strategy, which has moderated borrowing costs and decreased the amount of short-term debt in the portfolio and the financing risk. 11, that MTEF and FSP documents ancillary parameters listed below for 2024 to 2026 be maintained as well. 1, federal government recommended spending of 26 trillion with 16.9 trillion in retained revenue. 2, a 9 trillion budget deficit including GOEs. 3, 7.8 trillion naira in new borrowings, including borrowing from foreign and domestic sources. 4, 1.3 trillion naira worth of statutory transfers. 5, an estimated 8.2 trillion naira in debt service. 6, 243.6 billion naira in the sinking fund. 7, 1.2 trillion naira in pension, gratuity, and retiree benefits. And 8, total recurrent non-debts of 10.2 trillion naira, personnel cost of MDAs of 4.4 trillion naira, capital expenditure exclusive of transfers of 5.9 trillion naira, special intervention recurrent of 200 billion naira, and special intervention capital of 7 billion naira comprise the aggregate federal government of Nigeria expenditure of 26 trillion naira. 12, that the National Assembly begin the process of amending the Fiscal Responsibility Act 2007 in order to enhance the agency's ability to enforce fiscal responsibility and impose sanctions on erring corporations, especially with regard to Section 21, Sub 1 and 22, Subsection 1 and 2. 13, the National Assembly Standing Committees take prompt action to review the laws governing the activities of all revenue-generating agencies under their purview in order to identify specific sections or clauses that need to be amended in order to plug waste and increase the government's capacity to generate revenue. 14, that the federal government agencies ensure deployment of ICT in the collection of all revenues by MDAs, including stamp duty collection activities, in order to block leakages. 15, having discovered that the subsidiaries of NIPOST so created are irregular and illegal. We therefore recommend for them to be wound up and deregistered immediately. 16. The sum of 10 billion naira released by Ministry of Finance for the proposed NIPOST restructuring and recapitalization be investigated, and the funds fully recovered if established to be injudiciously utilized by the relevant committee of the Assembly charged with the responsibility of fiscal prudency. 17. That the Budget Office of the Federation and the Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning reevaluate the underlying assumptions for all federal government agencies' income targets in order to confirm the veracity of those assumptions and the resulting effects. 18. The federal government should continuously assess the qualification and performance of agency heads in order to guarantee that the government's total income targets as stated in the MTEP FSP and the yearly budget is consistently met with adequate sanctions where necessary. 19. That all ministries, departments, and agencies pay for services provided by other government agencies on time and in full, unless it is determined that the beneficiary agencies are statutorily exempt from such payments. 20. That the Ministry of Finance Incorporated, MOFI, examine the activities of all government agencies currently operating under the partial and full commercialization arrangement, allowing them to compete with their peers in the private sector and thereby making a more meaningful contribution to the federal government's revenue generation drive. 21. That the Bureau for Public Enterprise Act be amended to remove the clauses that created conflicts between it and MOFI, that is Ministry of Finance Incorporated, where MOFI should be authorized custodian of all federal government assets, both liquid and physical. 22. That the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited should work towards reducing its production and operational costs, thereby increasing available government revenue. That 23. All tax waivers not directly linked to non-governmental, non-profit organizations should not be granted. All tax waivers from 2015 to date should be investigated by the relevant committee of the Senate. In conclusion, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, we wish to sincerely thank you for the opportunity given to us to execute this all-important national assignment. We do hope that the approval of the recommendations will galvanize the economic fortunes of our dear country. I so submit, Mr. President.
Yes, dismissed Senator Solomon Odlamelego.
Thank you, Mr. President. Adeola Solomon Olamilekan, representing Ogun West Senatorial District. Mr. President, let me start by commending the chairman of this joint committee and all members of the joint committee for a job well done. Mr. President, I use that word well done because if you look at the volume of the document of the MTEF, and for them to come up with this recommendation, beautiful recommendation, I believe is a job well done. Mr. President, I will start by comments. And the comment goes to my colleagues. And I want to appeal to all standing committee of the Senate that as chairman and vice chairman of these committees, we want to appeal that you appeal to all the agencies under your supervision and be very vigilant concerning their revenue. Because as we're all aware, government budget is divided into three. One, agencies of the government that are fully funded from the budget, agencies of the government that are partly funded from the budget, and agencies of the government that are not funded at all from the budget. For those that are fully funded, it is expected that all revenue accruing to them be paid into the Consolidated Revenue Fund without deduction of any cover from that particular revenue item. Those that are partly funded, they are still expected to pay all revenue accruing to them. And the government, to an extent, will fund them to the extent of their recurrent expenditure and also partly their capital expenditure. And those that are not funded at all, under which we have the NDIC, the Central Bank of Nigeria, NNPC also, this is one area that we want you to be very, very, very focused on, because they are at liberty to spend whatever they want to. And at the end of every financial year, they are expected to remit 80% of their operational surplus to the coffers of the federal government. And in doing so, you need to monitor their expenditure of these particular agencies, because they will hide under a lot of expenditure head to defray this revenue accruing to them. And at the end of the day, they just pay a paltry sum of amount into the coffers of the government. Yes, the government has devised a method that for every revenue generating agencies, we call them the GOEs. As at the last budget, government have succeeded in capturing about 65 of these GOEs into the budget of into the national budget. And what did they tend to achieve? That every revenue accruing to them, you can only spend 50% of that revenue, while 50% will be remitted to the coffers of the government. But the so-called 50% that they've been allowed to, we still strongly believe that we can reduce it further, that they can only have access to between 30 and 40%, because they are devising so many ways. Giving them the 50% option, so many agencies will relax and believe with 50% they are okay. But if we reduce it further, what that simply means is that if you want more revenue, if you want to spend more revenue, then increase your revenue target. So we want to appeal to all our colleagues, chairman of committees, that overseeing these agencies of the government, to please let us pay so much attention. Whenever they appear before you, it's what is the status of your revenue we want to see, and how much are you allowed by law to spend out of this money. For agencies that are exceeding or not following the law, they can be brought before the National Assembly to come and explain why they have to take more than what is expected of them in every financial year. Mr. President, distinguished colleague, another area I want us to please, as the chairman has said, in the area of waivers. In 2024 alone, they have provided for 2.7 trillion waivers. Who are the beneficiary of these waivers? What did they tend to achieve? Are they adding value to the economy? And why are they granted these waivers? And this is one area I believe is of interest and utmost importance to us as a Senate, if the economic agenda of this current administration must be met. Lastly, Mr. President, the issue of tax credits is another very important area I want us to please pay more attention. Currently, we are operating under the Executive Order 007 to grant tax credits to some companies who believe that they are also doing some intervention projects on behalf of the federal government. How did they arrive at the contract value? Who are the beneficiary of these particular projects they are doing? And how do we come about the actual target? What that simply means is that tax ordinarily that's supposed to be paid to the government, they are taken by these agencies claiming that they are either doing road constructions or doing a lot of projects on behalf of the government that is maybe as a result of the executive fiat, which is under 007, which I believe we should still revisit. Because it is expected that any tax credit to be granted, we must match it with what is the nature of the project. How do you arrive at the figure that we are going to grant you tax credit on every financial year? Mr. President, very distinguished colleague, also this year it is established that we are borrowing 9.04 trillion naira, and that there is a sharp departure from what we had in 2023, 11.02. But sir, either it's going down or going up, we still believe that we should still work harder to ensure that we show up our revenue so that our amount borrowed can be reduced drastically. Don't forget, we have succeeded in rate reunification, we have removed subsidy, and the Minister of Finance is talking. He said there is sharp increase in the revenue coming into the coffers of the government as a removal of subsidy. I strongly believe, Mr. President, that if we could do more, this 9.041 trillion that we're expected to borrow this year can still go down drastically. And after saying this few words, Mr. President, again, NNPC, in rounding up, sir, the joint venture calls, I want to plead with our committee chairman on petroleum upstream and downstream to also critically look into this area on behalf of the National Assembly or the government. Ask questions, because NNPC is now NNPC Nigeria Limited Company. We need to ask questions that are begging for us. Royalties, there are a lot and more that we need to ask for from NNPC. Mr. President, distinguished colleague, I want to thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to say these few words and in complementing the effort of our Chairman, Senate Committee on Finance. I so submit, Mr. President.
Well, honestly, if everybody were to make comments, then we are more or less beginning to debate what had been debated by the joint committees. They held public hearings, they did a lot of debates, they interviewed a lot of MDS agencies and all that, and it took them at least 1 full month before coming back to us. If we start and we start re-debating, then we are questioning what they have done. I think the best thing we could do will be, having given us the overview, we should now look at the recommendations, whether they meet the expectations of Nigerians for the 2024 to 2026 medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper. I think that's what we should do. Otherwise, commencing a further debate would not. But let me, on behalf of the 10th Senate, commend the two committees for doing a very good job. 4 joint committees. In fact, when I saw some of the recommendations, I realized that we have a lot of work to do. For the chairman of the Senate committee, if you notice, you kept referring to Executive Order 007. We are not questioning Executive Order, but the Executive Order is just like a State House of Assembly law, which to a large extent, if it conflicts with the provisions of the Nigerian Constitution or conflicts with the provision of extant Act of Parliament, will be null and void to the extent of the inconsistency. I don't know whether I'm speaking your minds. This is where laws emerge. So if we have not in the past put in the bite for people to go to prison for violation of major aspects of fiscal policies, we should begin to think in that direction. Otherwise, people will still take laws into their hands, bill and spend. So let us look at the recommendations. Recommendation 1. In the light of the findings, the benchmark oil price of USD 73.96 and 73.76 and $69.9 per barrel be approved for 2024, 2025, and 2026 respectively. I take it again. For a 3-year period, the benchmark price of USD 73.76, that is for 2024, 69.90 for 2025, for 2026, and 73.76 for 2025 be approved respectively. Those in support of this recommendation say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Recommendation 2. That the daily crude oil production of 1.78 million barrels per day, 1.80 million barrels per day, and 1.81 million barrels per day for 2024, 2025, and 2026 respectively be approved, subject to NNPCL's confirmation of actual and verifiable deliveries. Those in support of recommendation 2 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Recommendation 3. The exchange rate of 700 naira to a dollar, 665.6. Let me just conclude the reading. Then you are 665.61 naira to a dollar, 669.79 naira to a dollar, proposed by the executive for the periods 2024 to 2026 respectively, be considered for approval with federal government vigorous drive to enhance local production, both oil and non-oil, for increased foreign reserve growth. Yes, amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, Mohammed Adamu Alaru is my name. Mr. President, I want to suggest that the exchange rate should be increased to $900 naira per dollar, because right now the CBN is selling dollar at 900 naira. So there is no point approving 700 naira per dollar when the rate currently is 900, and in the parallel market is well over 1,000. So I want to recommend to my distinguished colleagues that we should make the exchange rate to be 900 naira per dollar.
Leader, without my contributing as such, because I would like other people to either second what you have said or my thinking is that we should not make them to relax. We feel that the exchange rate is bringing a lot of untold hardship to Nigerians. And so I think we should be working towards ensuring that it is reduced drastically. Distinguished Senator Aningi.
Chairman, Mr. President, thank you very much. I'm a member of this committee and I've actually signed the document. And I do not have a particular problem with this particular clause, except where the National Assembly and its leadership intends to touch the budget, especially when it once increases the budget to meet the yearning and aspiration of Nigerians. This particular clause comes to play because the exchange rate actually signifies the intention of the $26 trillion naira that the executive seeks to achieve. My problem with the passage of this particular clause as a member of the National Assembly is where the National Assembly intends to increase, this particular clause becomes readily available, sufficient to deal with it, the benchmark. So if we pass this one as it is now, the chairman of two appropriation committees and my chairman, they are there, but let's not be in a haste to look at these figures, because even while the executive brought these particular proposals, they do not, in my opinion, brought any tangible economy reason as why this thing should remain. But since the two chairmen are here and the DSP is here, maybe he can educate us more. I'm just concerned that if we want to put the budget up, this is the clause that we'll use.
So, distinguished Deputy Senate President.
Mr. President, I think we should leave the figure the way it is. The value of the naira, so to speak, is, informed by what speculators are doing in the market. And we can understand that the president or the executive government is doing very much in order to stabilize the naira. And it's purely, what the figure that is depicted there is purely based on intention of the government. The entire budgetary process is based on proposal, expectations, and the government is determined to bring naira under control, to stabilize the naira. The president was recently in Saudi Arabia. We have the discussion he's making to bring in foreign direct investment to the country to stabilize the naira. So let's not touch it the way it is. It is the intention of the government, and I'm sure, by grace of God, it's achievable. Before we go the first stanza of next year, it might even go lower than the figure is in there. It might go to about 600 naira, to $1. It's very possible. So let's leave it the way it is.
Let's hear from the Chairman of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm Mohammed Sani Musa, representing Niger East. What predicated us to living as it is because in 2023, the production was between 1.2, production of crude was 1.2 million barrels per day. But when the present administration came in, with the measures they have taken, production have shot up to about 1.7 million barrels per day. And looking at the OPEC also projected production for the period we are going into, I think in order to save the naira, we shouldn't play around by saying we are going to take naira value, dollar value more. Instead, what we should be working at, because we'll be getting more inflow from the south, we should be able to stabilize the naira, and our foreign reserve earning will increase. So when the foreign reserve earning is increasing, the dollar value domestically is supposed to be going down. So we shouldn't predicate our budget projections with higher value for the dollar. The reality is the production. The reality is
we cannot even be realistic here. It's very fluid because there are a lot of factors that affect oil production. Sometimes leakages, sometimes which they call oil sheen, sometimes vandalization, sometimes intentional theft. And these things are things that the government currently is working on. These are things that the government is very determined to stamp out. So the government has an idea of what it will do to shore up production, and it is already doing so. We need the cooperation of all the citizens to do so. And then we also need the cooperation of the security agencies. We even the cooperation of the National Assembly for proper monitoring and oversight of the. So it's key. Every hand must be on deck to see that we increase oil production, and then by implication increase the income through the earnings in dollars. And if we have the dollars coming in more, it means that they will be available, because what drives the price is supply. And so if the supply of the dollar increases, it automatically means that the Naira will be strengthened. And that is what we are looking for. We want the Naira to be strengthened. But if we take it up, and then it means that we are not even confident that we can achieve a reduction. And we are not confident that we can achieve stability. And of course, this affects even the general prices in the market of goods and services. So let's not give the impression to our people that this government is not going to work, which is not the case. We are determined to make sure that it works. If you want to look at it from, what is on ground now, realistically, Chairman, the concern is, why is the CBN itself capping it at 900 when we are here trying to help them to reduce it to 600 or 700? So, Chairman of appropriation, should we base our budget estimates on a false? Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I want to say that I can quite understand where Senator Alero is also coming from. He's looking at it from the layman point of view that, okay, sorry, as an informed person.
No, he's looking at it from a distinguished senator's point of view, not layman.
Sorry, Your Excellency, from an informed man point of view, Your Excellency.
Senator Adiola Olamego, I've noted that you have withdrawn your earlier statement. Senator Alero, that withdrawal is more or less an apology. So your point of order is sustained.
Yes. Once again, to my brother, Senator Alero, I'm very sorry. Sir, having said that, I want to appeal to our colleagues. Why 700? You see, prior to now, sir, before coming up with these estimated figures, one of the major issues this administration immediately coming into power intend to attend is the unification of our rates. That is between the capital market and the parallel market. Sir, before agreeing to this figure, all parties, including the Central Bank of Nigeria, sit together to push this benchmark at 700. And part of what was offered as reasons is that if this rate exceed beyond 700 to 900, effectively what we are doing is that the removal of so-called subsidy we are saying we are removed. We will continue to pay this subsidy indirectly And it is on that premise that we agreed that, okay, and if you vividly recollect, that a point, this was raised even with the president, that it's like the benchmark we are using does not reflect the current realities on ground. And the central bank governor says that is the best that we can use for now. That as things tends to improve, don't forget that they are trying to bring in some foreign direct investment, totaling about $60 million, to bring down the price of the dollars. Because these prices were...
It means 60 billion or 60 million.
It's about $60 billion direct investment into the country. Is to bring down the price of these dollars. If we continue to work on what is available now, because this that we are seeing is temporary. At a point, the dollar got at the parallel market was at $1,300, and at a point it came down back to about $900. That shows the government is doing something. I don't want us to be preemptive. I agree with you that the price as it's currently where is not too good for us, and the Senate President have said it. This price is dragging up market prices of every item that we are buying. So the only thing we can show to the entire world that we are determined and resolute to bring down the prices of this dollar is to sustain it at a level in which all of us will be hopeful that something is going to happen. Because if we take it to 900 and work with 900, that means what we are doing is that if at a point it's going to 2,000, 1,000, there will be nothing to offer. So I want to plead to our colleague that let's stay at this benchmark and let's work hard to ensure that it goes even lower at the end of the day.
Let me point this out. The reality is that no matter how we argue, we have different opinions. But let's just get the majority view. Those who are in support of the proposal on recommendation 2, recommendation 3, that the benchmark remains 700, 665, 669, proposed by the joint committee. Say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Then why were we arguing? Recommendation 4, that all items locally produced should be outrightly banned from importation and custom tariffs amended accordingly. This recommendation 4, why don't you add a clause that all items locally manufactured and which are sufficient? We have a population of over 200 million. So if you manufacture local items for 5 million people, what happens to the other people if you ban everything in totality? That all items locally produced and sufficient for the Nigerian market should be outrightly banned for importation. Yes, Senator. Senator Oshumole.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. My name is Adams Ali Oshumole. I support this particular recommendation because I think it is at the heart of our crisis. Around the world, including those who preach free market, like the US, the UK, and so on and so forth. There are things they produce at home, even if they are not economically competitive, as a matter of deliberate policy, they prohibit their importation. There can be no equilibrium between demand and supply if we don't have measures to protect local industries. So I think this policy is right because even our lamentation about exchange rate is not just a function of more dollars being supplied. If more dollars are supplied and much more demand is affected for imported goods, the exchange rate will continue to suffer permanent devaluation. Therefore, sir, I think we should support this idea. It's about, earlier in the morning, sir, we spent time talking about skilling our youths. When we skill them, where will they work? if we are importing toothpick, because we don't have enough toothpick producer at home, we allow people to import toothpick. We are importing all sorts of things that this country don't need. We have basically become a dumping ground for all sorts of things. So, Mr. President, I believe until we challenge ourselves, just the manner that you said before, that we can challenge ourselves to do everything to stabilize the naira, not just by supply, but also reducing unnecessary demand that we can produce at home. So, sir, I support this recommendation 4 without any, because once you say sufficiently, that loophole will be exploited for people to say we are not producing toothpick enough locally, therefore you can import toothpick. We are not producing milk enough locally, therefore you can import the balance. Who will determine the balance? So, sir, we should leave it as it is. It is elegant. It is also bold to say that we want to sustain the policy of producing what we need, and prohibiting things that we considered a luxury, so that we can protect the stability of the country and create more jobs for our young people.
Thank you for your contributions. So, recommendation 4, that all items locally produced should be outrightly banned from importation and customs tariffs amended accordingly. Those in support of this recommendation say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Recommendation 5, that the Central Bank of Nigeria should ensure that banks have access to foreign exchange in order to provide funds to importers and other users to prevent patronage of the parallel market. Those in support of recommendation 5 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Recommendation 6, that in the light of the federal government's response to fiscal measures in order to stimulate the economy by significant investment in infrastructure, SMEs, and the agricultural sector, the GDP growth rates of 3.76%, 4.22%, and 4.78% during the years 2024, 2025, and 2026 be approved. Those in support of recommendation 6 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Recommendation 7, that the inflation rate of 21.4% in 2024, 20.3% in 2025, and 18.6% in 2026 be approved. Those in support of recommendation 7 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Recommendation 8, that the federal government target setting approach and its determination to enhance the major revenue generating agencies collections. I'll read that again. That the federal government's target setting approach and its determination to enhance the major revenue generating agencies collection efficiency will support. The chairman, read that one for us.
That the federal government's target setting approach and its determination to enhance the major revenue generating agencies collection efficiency will support the fiscal deficit estimate of 9 trillion, including GOEs, is noted and hereby approved. That is the efficiency of the MDAs.
Okay. But the federal government's target setting approach and its determination to enhance the major revenue generating agencies collection efficiency will support the fiscal deficit estimate of 9 trillion, including GOEs, is noted and recommended for approval. Those in support of recommendation 8 as amended say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Recommendation 9, that the federal government should continue to enforce the implementation of the performance management framework for GOEs by ensuring that they operate in a more fiscally responsible manner while reviewing their operational efficiencies and declared cost to income ratios. Those in support of recommendation 9 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Recommendation 10, that the 7.8 trillion in new borrowings, both domestic and foreign, be supported as well, given the country's current effective debt management strategy, which has moderated borrowing costs and decreased the amount of short-term debts in the portfolio and refinancing risk. Those in support of recommendation 10 say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Recommendation 11, that the MTF FSP documents and salary parameters listed below for 2024 to 2026 be maintained as well. Those in support of recommendation 11 say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Recommendation 12, that the National Assembly begins the process of amending the Fiscal Responsibility Act, FRA 2007, in order to enhance the agency's ability to enforce fiscal responsibility and impose sanctions on erring corporations, specifically with regards to sections 21.1 and 22.1 and 2. Those in support of this... Yes, amendment.
Mistake. That the National Assembly begins the process. Begin.
Well, if you heard what I read, I added S.
Oh, okay.
Actually, my mouth has a way of correcting English. So that is why constantly I refer to the clerk. I said notes. So I'll read again. That the National Assembly begins the process of amending the Fiscal Responsibility Act, FRA 2007, in order to enhance the agency's ability to enforce fiscal responsibility and impose sanctions on erring corporations, specifically with regards, do you notice that? There's no S there, but my mouth added it. Specifically with regards to sections 21, subsection 1, and sections 22, subsections 1 and 2. Those in support of this recommendation say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. So recommendation 12 is approved as amended. That 13, that the National Assembly standing committees take prompt actions to review the laws governing the activities of all revenue-generating agencies under their purview in order to identify specific sections or clauses which require amendment in order to plug the loopholes of wastages and increase the government's capacity to generate more revenues. Those in support of recommendation 13 as amended say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk, you are noting that recommendation 14, that the federal government agencies should ensure but look at it again. So as you see, as we move along, the Senate President's mouth is amending some sections. Okay, so that the federal government agencies should ensure the deployment of ICT in the collection of all revenues by MDS, including stamp duty collection activities, in order to block the loopholes of leakages. Those in support of recommendation 14 as amended say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Recommendation 15. Having discovered that the subsidiaries of NIPO so created are irregular and illegal, we therefore recommend for them to be wound up and deregistered immediately. Yes, amendment. Okay. Senator Ningi, look at recommendation 15. Having discovered that the subsidiaries of NIPOS so created are irregular and illegal, we therefore recommend for them to be wound up and deregistered immediately. I thought we should have...
May have informed that decision before we make a hasty decision. I so submit, sir.
The suggestion would be that whilst cautioning NIPOS to desist from patronizing irregular, the Senate should also undertake immediate investigation. Yes, please.
President Kosha, the young man senator has actually speak my mind where that affects lawmaking body of this country. Even these subsidiaries, like I said, I'm a member of co-join. Who are they? Who are they? Have they been named? So what we need to do, sir, in times like this, that there is no clear-cut definition of these subsidiaries, stand down this particular resolution, and then you can investigate. Stand it down, because it may be fatal to what we are trying to achieve. NIPOS came. NIPOS as a body came, and questions were raised as to why are these people operating. NIPOS said they don't know about them, but they may be rivals to NIPOS, and somewhere, somehow, they are also using government offices occupied by NIPOS and some other states. So what I think we should do, like Asuko, let's drop it. It doesn't change our MTEP by anything. Drop it and then investigate, sir.
Senator Jeremy.
Thank you, Mr. President. NIPOS is an act of parliament. Calling these people subsidiaries of NIPOS, and it's not captured in the act establishing NIPOS, is already out of place. So we should not refer to them as subsidiaries of NIPOS. Exactly. And stepping down this motion, or this recommendation, is like putting a hold on the MTEF. We should correct it, use the proper lexicons instead of subsidiaries, and trash this issue. Thank you.
I think
you may wish to recast it in a way that will talk about NIPOS and affiliates. Senator, is this a senator? Maybe you may wish to recast it in a way that talks about capturing what comes from NIPOS and its affiliates, whilst the Senate will in future investigate the so-called subsidiaries, which are neither registered nor recognized by act of parliament. So did you get what I said? That we should capture what comes out of NIPOS and its affiliates, whilst the Senate will in due course do the needful of trying to find out who owns what and why they should be in government offices. And Senator Mrs. Oduaga.
Thank you, Senate President. I'd like to support Senator Ekpenyong in the fact that we should actually not be quite hastened in passing this recommendation, because it would be good we actually spend some time to investigate. Maybe there are some innovative measures that were developed by NIPOS in order to invest the 10 billion funds that was given to them. If I just did a brief research into the UK Post, and I see that the UK Post actually provides mail, financial, and government services to the people of UK. If I'd say this, I know that Western Union, if I want to cash money outside Nigeria or in the UK, I usually go to the post offices, and that's where Western Union is domiciled. And maybe we should take some time, slow down, invite NIPOS And maybe if they do have some subsidiaries, even though that is not considered right now in the bill, but we should spend some time to listen to them and find out maybe they have actually diverted exactly in some innovations that would bring about more money and to speed up services that would improve the lives of Nigerians daily. Maybe we should hear them out. Maybe the activities now are actually more advanced than what is being contained in the act or the bill as it is.
Okay, so Distinguished Senator Sani Musa, let's end it by listening to your recommendation. My question to you will be that if we step down 15, what will be the effect on the MTF? But let's hear from you.
What I wanted to just clarify is that NIPOST, yes, they they have some other units, like the speed mill, which it's just part of an organ they created to enhance their efficiency. But FIDEX. But these two entities, initially maybe the then management of NIPOST registered them, but when they registered them, they still maintain the control of those entities and is being operated as a private entity, not a subsidiary of NIPOST. So what we need, I think what Jaribe said, the distinguished Senator Jaribe said, makes a lot of sense. If we are going to go further to investigate, when we remove it from here, it will not give us that. Okay, maybe he has more experience.
Mr. President, there is an infraction here being alleged. Now it's the duty of this chamber, of this of the Senate, to now institute investigation, full investigation, to find out who are the culprits, and then they'll be dealt according to the law. This is too small. I mean, there must be investigation. We should step it down and it's a proper investigation. The concerned committee should investigate and report to the Senate. I move that.
So in that case, in respect of recommendation 15, can you now make a final proposition? Or is it together? But there is something in this. There is 10 billion here, and we would like to know how the 10 billion, the two can go together. So, distinguished Deputy Senate President.
That this Senate should instruct the relevant committee to investigate the issue so stated in those two recommendations and then report back to the Senate within 2 weeks.
Do we allow that the Senate hereby steps down recommendations 15 and 16? No, this is MTF.
The chairman just told me that the House of Reps passed this same version. So in order for us not to go to the conference committee, in view of the urgency in transmitting the MTF to the executive so that they can submit the budget, I think we should allow it to go. But that doesn't stop us from investigation. This shouldn't be stepped down, it should be allowed to go. But still the investigation should be carried out. I just submit. Please, somebody should let.
Well, Senator Jaribe.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have come back to where we were. I still support and second the motion. Thank you.
Distinguished colleagues, recommendations 15 and 16. The motion is on ground that they be allowed to pass whilst the investigation should be carried out by this August Assembly in due course. Those in support of the recommendation say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Therefore, recommendation 17, that the Budget Office of the Federation and the Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning re-evaluate the underlying assumptions for all federal government agencies' income targets in order to conform, it should actually be in order to confirm, right? In order to conform. No, because the next thing is veracity. And so it will be confirmed. It won't be, yes. So it won't be conformed. So please, clerk, note it. What is here is conform. Clerk, come and read this. Because my glasses are not working. What is here? No, what is here? Okay. So, in order to confirm the veracity, right? Let me read it again. So mine, no, it's not my glass. It's mine has a typographical error. So, and it said conform. So when I saw the veracity, I realized they did not rhyme. That the Budget Office of the Federation and the Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning re-evaluate the underlying assumptions for all federal government agencies' incomes, for all federal government agencies' income targets in order to confirm the veracity of those assumptions and the resulting effects. Those in support of this recommendation 17 say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Recommendation 18. The federal government should continuously assess the qualifications and performances of agency heads in order to guarantee that the government's total income target as stated in the MTF FSP and the yearly budgets are constantly met with adequate sanctions where necessary. That the federal government should continuously assess the qualifications and performance of agency heads in order to guarantee that the government's total income target as stated in the MTF FSP and the yearly budgets that the federal government should continuously assess. Yes, distinguished Senator Sani Musa, please consider moving, is your document, consider moving a motion to remove the qualifications there so that the federal government should continuously assess the performances of agencies. So move it and let somebody second it so that we move on.
Mohammed Sani Musa, Niger East Central District. I move for the amendment of recommendation 18 to read that the federal government should continuously assess the performances of agencies in order to guarantee that the government's total income targets as stated in the MTF FSP and the yearly budget are consistently met with adequate sanction where necessary. Where necessary, not to where.
Clark, you got that? Senator Sadiq Umar.
Thank you, Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues. I am Sadiq Suleiman Umar. I represent Kwara North. I stand to second that recommendation 8 be adjusted as recommended by the chairman of finance. 18, yes. Thank you. I so move.
The distinguished colleagues, recommendation 18 has been amended and seconded. Those in support of the amendment say aye. Aye. And those against say nay. The ayes have it. Recommendation 19, that all ministries, departments, and agencies, MDS, pay for services provided by other government agencies on time and in full, unless it is determined that the beneficiary agencies are statutorily exempt from such payments. Those in support of recommendation 19 say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Recommendation 20, that the Ministry of Finance Incorporated, MOFI, examines the activities of all government agencies currently operating under the partial and full commercialization arrangement, allowing them to compete with their peers in the private sector and thereby making a more meaningful contribution to the federal government's revenue generation drive. Those in support of recommendation 20 say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Recommendation 21, that the Bureau of Public Enterprises Act be amended to remove the clauses that create conflict between the BPE and MOFI, where MOFI should be authorized, should be the authorized custodian of all federal government assets, both liquid and physical. Okay, so recommendation 21, that the Bureau of Public Enterprises Act be amended to remove the clauses that create conflict between it and MOFI, where MOFI should be the authorized custodian of all federal government assets. Full stop. Yes. Yes. So move that we amend it so.
I move that the recommendation stop at federal government assets, removing both liquid and fiscal. I so move.
Senator Izunaso.
My name is Senator Osita Izunaso. I support the amendment as moved by the Deputy Senate President. I so support.
Distinguished colleagues, recommendation 21 has been amended to read that the Bureau of Public Enterprises Act be amended to remove the clauses that create conflict between it and MOFI, where MOFI should be the authorized custodian of all federal government assets, full stop. Those in support of this amendment say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. So the words both liquid and physical are hereby deleted. Recommendation 22, that the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited, NNPCL, should work towards reducing its production and operational costs, thereby increasing available government revenue. So, is there anybody who wishes to amend it to say that the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited should work towards reducing its production and operational costs with a view to increasing revenue available to the government of the Federation? Yes. Huh? production costs. Yes, distinguished senator. It's something. Well, they are talking about both operation and production. So, yes. This is Senator Jaribe. Amend it as you propose the amendment and let the Deputy Senate President second it for you. Go ahead.
That the Senate committees oversighting the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited work towards reducing the yes yes now we will saddle them with the responsibility of appropriating and reprobating. NNPC itself, not our committee. Okay. That the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited should work towards reducing its capital expenditure and operational costs, thereby increasing available government revenue. Production is under capital expenditure. Then operational cost is for recurrent and personnel. That is the technical term used in the industry.
So this is the Mr. President. Let the chairman of the joint committee that brought this report give us what he thinks should be what we should have here. Okay, you have more experience. Okay. Okay. Sorry, you want to yield the floor to him or you want? Okay.
You will be able to phrase it better. What we found out is that our cost of production is the highest in the world. For per barrel of production is the highest. So we want to make it clearly, even the layman will understand that production cost or cost of production by NNPC is too high and they should do something to reduce it. So, but DSP can put it in a more professional and experienced way.
Well, distinguished
this thing is known to every person in the industry. We call it cost of production. There's nothing like operational. Reducing cost of production is simplicity. That's what is being used. International balance in terms of the oil industry. That's the industrial jargon. It's known everywhere. You can't change. If you write this, it will become a laughing stock. Cost of production, reducing cost of production. We've been in this environment for quite a long time. We know it.
Senator Binus, do you have any experience in this industry?
Mr. President, a little.
No.
What distinguished Senator Jarigbe is proposing, that we use CAPEX. If we do, we'll be sending a wrong signal that we want to curtail our production, because the oil industry, what determines productivity and production is capital expenditure. So the suggestion of DSP is the correct one. Thank you.
It's a function of semantics.
The Deputy Senator Ahmed Laman, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. My name is Ahmed Lawan. I represent Yobe North. Mr. President, I think this is a simple issue that is turning into a difficult one. Cost of production varies from place to place. Ours in the oil industry is, of course, no doubt the highest in the world. Why? Insecurity and other issues that government is not able to provide. And therefore, they build in so much into the cost of production. What they do in the real cost, in the real production, is not different from what is done elsewhere. But because they have to ensure that whatever they do, they don't lose, they win. So I think what we need to do is for our oil and gas related committees to really engage with the NNPC and whoever is involved as an operator to know how we can do that. It's very sensitive. And I will not advise that we simply say they should go and reduce. We should find a way of making it possible for engagement to know exactly what can be done. But if we say we just fait accompli, we should just say go and reduce it. How do we know? So I advise that we should be very careful. Thank you.
So just go straight like that.
The prayer should read like this, in my opinion, that the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited should work towards global production and operational cost standard, full stop. Global production and operational cost standard. It's the standard. There is no standard. That is why, because of the standard, that's why we brought this matter here. I'm a member of the committee. And wait, you are the one who brought it, and you said ANPC has the highest. How did you verify it? Because we have been told what happened to other clients, and that's why you brought it. So if there is no global standard, why are we not bringing it?
Like I said we are going like this. So the Senator Alero, are you seconding?
Thank you, Mr. President. Muhammad Adamadio is my name. Mr. President, we are wasting time unnecessarily on this very simple recommendation. All we want is how do we make NNPC to reduce its production cost? As said by Senate President Emeritus Ahmed Lawan, at one time, production cost per barrel used to be $20. And now NNPC has worked and brought it down to about $15 per barrel. And according to what Mele Kari, the GM of the NNPC, is saying, they are working towards reducing it by about $10 per barrel. So all we need to say is that NNPC should continue to reduce its production cost. Simple. They are already working towards that. Let them continue to work towards reducing production costs in order to boost revenue collection. That's all.
Well guided. I think, in other words, you are saying that the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited should be encouraged. Once you use the word should be encouraged to work towards reducing the cost of production, as well as once you say that it should be encouraged. In other words, part of the encouragement will include provision of security, which is very important, and other ancillary things that tend to, and even prompt oil theft, reducing oil theft, providing necessary security, and then ensuring payment of cash costs as and when due. And all, I think so. The word should be that they should be encouraged to continue with the. Okay. So Senator Musa, you end it for us. Let's Senator say something first.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Senator Osita Naso, Imo West. This matter
is very simple. We're not arguing on the meaning. We're only talking about the semantics. Because NNPC must reduce their cost of operation. So, not to be encouraged. If you say to be encouraged, we're weakening the issue we are making here. So it should be that the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited, NNPC, should work towards reducing its cost of operation. It's as simple as that. Production cost. I will stop. So I don't think we should be talking about production cost, operational cost. No. It should just be cost of operation. Thank you, Mr. President.
So, item 22, that the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited should work towards reducing its production and operational costs, thereby increasing available government revenue. Those in support of recommendation 22 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Recommendation 23, all tax waivers not directly linked to non-governmental and non-profit organizations should not be granted. Those in support of recommendation 23 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Recommendation 24, all tax waivers from 2015 to date should be investigated by the relevant committees of the Senate. Those in support of recommendation 24 say aye. Those against say nay. As amended say aye. And those against say nay. The ayes have it. In conclusion, we want to thank the joint committees. I think it's based on experience. Senator Aleno is very, very experienced. That's why I wanted to add additional recommendation to the FTF and FSP. But
No. Yes. I think it was an omission. You see, yeah, correct. I'm a member of the Joint Committee. Mr. President, in this report, the findings in saying that federal government is paying a whopping amount of $40 million monthly, take or pay agreement, even when agencies are fully aware that the country has limitations in meeting up with the obligation of this agreement. I think they are referring to the power purchase agreement where federal government is paying $40 million monthly to Azuru. Upfront, whether they generate power or not, this money must be paid to the generating company. And I think we should review this agreement.
Distinguished colleagues, well, I thank you for a wonderful job in concluding this. Well, I don't know which order. Which order? So the distinguished colleagues, information. I said which order? Which order? Which order? Which order? No. Whilst I thank you for this wonderful job done by the various committees, the joint committees of the Senate on this MTF and FSP 2024 to 2026. We want to commend the chairman of the committee and all his members for a job well done. But just to note that distinguished Senator Alero, a lot of issues have been raised here that we will continue to work on, even after this passage. If you look at page 34, that the federal government's target setting approach, should aim at ensuring efficiency in revenue collection, and the estimate of 9 trillion noted for approval. And say, of course, before now, what we had was about 11.something trillion, now is 9 trillion, and it seems to be going down. Then the aspect of abolishing the different forest windows and now having one single window is something that must also be commended. Then, in addition, Deputy Senate President, the federal government has also reduced or abolished the issue of fuel subsidy, which we believe will bring in more revenue, and also the revenue drive currently being done by the president to Saudi Arabia and many other countries, expecting a possible increase in foreign direct investment to the tune of $60 billion, and then the current increase in oil production from 900 to 1.2 million barrels per day. Now we are getting almost to 1.7 million barrels per day, and various other steps being taken by the administration tend to give hope in the coming 3 years that this may be, yes. I noticed Senator Ningi, when he hears about the renewed hope, is not very comfortable, but I have to say it. So these things here are things that we should really commend President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for the initiative so far. And so there's a lot of hope for Nigerians going forward. But then, the issues also mean that the various committees of the Senate must also look at page 36 and know that they have to come up with various motions to look into issues. If 10 billion have been given to NIPOS, how was the 10 billion utilized? So that will be a different thing for a different day. It's not going to be here, but it's something I'm saying we use this as a working document to ensure that we look into issues and see how we can recover more revenues for the federal government. Then, of course, as a Senate and as a National Assembly, we must also look at the issue of amending the Fiscal Responsibility Act in order to enhance the agency's ability to enforce fiscal discipline and then impose sanctions. And that part of the problem of the Act was that it did not place sanction for those who abuse the Act. Those things are here. So, and I said, not just a function of paying fines, it could even include imprisonment, because fiscal discipline in any administration, if it is not enhanced, will not allow that administration to work. So if we are going to amend the Fiscal Responsibility Act, we must look in that direction. I'm saying, so we are going to use this as a working document towards a lot of other motions and decisions, including legislative amendments that we are going to work on. They must not all be contained here, but it's already enough for us to know that we have a lot of work to do. Also the issue of NIPOS and the so-called subsidiaries. If they were registered by NIPOS, how did they suddenly become privately owned? So that's why I said this is a working document. We have approved it, but at the same time, we still have a lot of work to do. We pick them page by page, and then we continue to do our work. And you'll be surprised that it will help us to bring in more revenues. And finally, the issue of waivers. If some companies enjoy up to 6 trillion waiver in a year, and this year, without even knowing which company is going to enjoy the waivers, we are already looking at about 2.6 trillion. Yes, next year, 2034, for waiver. We want to give 2.6 trillion waivers. We don't know those who are going to benefit from those waivers. And it is the work of this National Assembly, Senate inclusive, to know those who are going to benefit from the waivers, and whether it will be the ordinary Nigerian or whether it will be the novel richie which will result in them entering into Forbes book of billionaires in the world, while the Nigerians are suffering, because those waivers are funds that would have been used for the benefit of the common man. So we'll look at them and see whether they are rightly utilized. And if they are not rightly utilized, we still have a right to come back here, either by legislation or motion. We can stop those things. That's why, yes, that's why we are the parliament. So I want to thank all of us also for our contributions and thank the committees for a job well done. So, distinguished colleagues, having concluded debates and having accepted the recommendations contained in the MTEF FSP for 2024 to 26, is it the view of the Senate that the totality of these recommendations and the entirety of the content be accepted? Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Thus, the Senate has passed the MTEF for 2024 to 2026 and the medium-term expenditure framework and the fiscal strategy paper. And now the Senate leader.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, in view of the plethora of other legislative activities scheduled for this afternoon by our various committees, I stand to move that we stand down the other items on the other paper for another legislative day. I so move, Mr. President.
The minority.
Thank you, Mr. President. I stand to second the motion that we stand down the other items on the other paper for today for the next legislative day. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded that the other items on the other paper be stood down to another legislative day. Those in support of the motion say aye, and those against say nay. The ayes have it. Therefore, this Senate is hereby adjourned to the 23rd day of November, Thursday at 11 a.m. prompt.